What's going on, good people? This is SJG. Welcome to an HBCU game day update. Came to you guys on Monday with the transfer portal update, and just some news overall. Talked a little bit about the transfer portal. Norfolk State. Just hold on one second, guys. Yeah. So Norfolk State picked up not one but two transfers over the last 2 weeks that were really talented. That came from Division I programs, and as you know, we always say the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh. And at Howard University, it's definitely been taking quite a lot. Now, it was only a month ago that myself and the team, Josh and our guys there, HBCU game day, we were all at the Norfolk Scope checking out Howard University winning the MEAC tournament, knocking off Norfolk State. It was a great story. You know, everyone who knows about HBCU basketball knows that Howard University is a great brand, but the basketball has not always been up to par with the rest of the brand. And so Coach Kenneth Blakeney and his staff have put together a tremendous program over the last couple of years. They found a lot of really good players that were kind of underneath the radar and figured out how to put this power team together. And one of those players is this young man right here. His name is Elijah Hawkins. He is a point guard. He is a DC guy, and you know, one of the biggest criticisms of the program for a long time was that they did not have a lot of DC connections, even though they're in DC, and DC is obviously a basketball mecca. So they get him, and as you can see on the screen there, he is now in the transfer portal. He's been a diamond in the rough for him, one of the diamond in the roughs that Kenny Blakeney has found over the last couple of years. Well, actually, you know, Kenny Blakeney has really done a great job recruiting since he's been there. Obviously everyone knows McCord Maker, but the young man that just signed with Norfolk State, Khalil Mating, he also initially committed to Howard University back in 2020 and backed out of it. But even so, McCord Maker is, of course, what everybody thinks about when they think about Howard and recruiting success. But Elijah Hawkins was one of those successes as well. He came in, he was the MEAC Rookie of the Year in the 2022 season, helped really give those guys a boost. And now he is in the transfer portal. And of course, that's a big loss. He averaged 13 points a game pretty much for most of his career. He also averaged right at 6 assists. Actually, this year he did average 6 assists. And he shot 46% from three, which is pretty amazing. He had a great game against Kansas, which, not a great game. It was a good game. He showed some things. He has a lot of speed. He can distribute the ball and he can shoot, which is very important. Now he is in the transfer portal. He jumped in last night or yesterday on Monday. So he's in the transfer portal, but not only is he in the transfer portal, his running mate, Steve Settle III, also another key part of the Howard University basketball turnaround, is in the transfer portal as well. Now, these are Howard's number one and number two scorers. So these guys are not just, some pedestrian pieces. And they both still have multiple years of eligibility left. So these are big blows for Coach Kenny Blakeney and his program. Again, he's shown he has success recruiting. So, tough blow for them there. But if that wasn't enough, they also got another transfer portal deflection just over the last couple of hours. And this is a young man named Jordan Wood. He is a junior. He was actually a part of the class with McCord Maker. He is a player from Texas. He is Caucasian, and he had a pretty good season. He's averaged for his career, he's averaged 8 points and 3.7 rebounds per game. So not world-beating numbers by any stretch of the imagination, but he was a very important part of the championship run that they went on. He was, just a big part in making Howard University something that was, becoming relevant within HBCU basketball, MEAC basketball, and now, across the NCAA. So, personally, doing this for the number of years that we've been doing this and just kind of seeing the way things are going. Whenever HBCU players have big time performances, be it for an entire season or sometimes just the right game. If you look at Steve Settle, this third, he actually had a big game. His career game came against Notre Dame in the 2022 season. So that's obviously a big time game on a big time stage. It was on national television. He's 6'11", 6'10", 6'11", long arms, can shoot the ball. And this year he talked about how he learned how to do things outside of shooting the ball. And then he went out to have a really good game against Kansas, especially in that first half. And you kind of got the feeling that he almost, in this day and age, it's all like almost it would have been something might have been wrong if he didn't test the waters. So in any case, he has jumped into the transfer portal. That was at the beginning of this month. He hasn't landed yet. So we will see what happens with Steve Settle 3. But obviously losing a guy like Elijah Hawkins, who was your point guard. And really, you felt like Howard is really on the verge of building something special. We know that Norfolk State and before that, North Carolina Central had dominated the MEAC. But Howard has shown over the last 2 years that they were becoming a force. And obviously, as they won the championship this year, they were a force. And they expected to have a lot of pieces back. So now some of those pieces they're going to have to fill. And that's just the unfortunate for HBCU's nature of the transfer portal. Sometimes you will get guys that will come down from a Power 5 level or who have, played at a bigger level. But a lot of times you'll lose your best guys, and it'll be very interesting. I know yesterday I made and I'll bring up again, Howard's had a couple of guys who were very talented and ended up going into the transfer portal, and the results have been a little, there's two results. So you had James Daniel, who was the NCAA leading scorer, I believe, in the 2017 season, electrifying scorer at Howard University, got to shoot the ball as much as he wanted for Coach Nickelberry. And they didn't have a lot of success in those times, but he was able to, really make a name for himself. So he hit the transfer portal. I believe it might have been the first year that they actually had the portal. Obviously people have been transferring for, decades and years, but he went to Tennessee and, he had maybe a game or two and a couple games in double figures, but never got that limelight or never got to put up those type of stats. And it's like, what would have happened if he would have gone another season at Howard? There's always that. There's the question of legacy. There's the question of building a program. How much better could Howard have been? And then on the opposite end of that, you got RJ Cole, who was another player that Coach Nickelberry brought in, talented guard out of New Jersey. He was a 3-star, borderline 4-star kid, and a lot of people wanted him. Coach Nickelberry was able to get him to Howard, even though, again, they hadn't had a lot of success. But once Coach Nickelberry was moved on and no longer at Howard, bringing in Coach Blakeney, that's when RJ Cole decided that he was going to try his hand at the transfer portal. So if you remember him, he actually went to UConn and played a couple years there, and he had a pretty good career. I know he did get some G League looks. He's not in the NBA. Not quite sure where he is at the moment, but it bears watching. There's been a lot of conversations about how, HBCU, some folks are feeling like some of the talented players are kind of using them almost as JUCOs. That's to be debated. I mean, but it seems like every time I look up, there's somebody that I recognize as a significant contributor to an HBCU this year for sure in the transfer portal. The latest name that I saw was Dontrez Styles. He was a guard for Maryland Eastern Shore. Maryland Eastern Shore had the best season they've had in almost a decade. And Styles was key in that. And he is hitting his name into the transfer portal. He's a grad transfer. So, a lot of different things to look out there. And, so again, if you guys are in the chat, let me know who you're watching, who you're representing, what HBCUs you are a fan of. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat as well. And, the transfer portal, we'll definitely be watching that. I do know there was a transfer portal announcement. Former Winston-Salem State guard Samaj Teal has entered the transfer portal a couple weeks back. He's announced his next destination, and that is Presbyterian. Samaj Teal is a kid from Farmville, North Carolina, Farmville High School in Greenville, North Carolina, the same school that produced Justin Wright, who just left North Carolina Central and transferred to Loyola Marymount. So Samaj Teal helped Winston-Salem State to the 2023 CIAA basketball championship. A really talented guard. A lot of people felt he should have been D1 straight out of college. He came to Winston-Salem State for a couple years, and now he's ready to spread his wings at Presbyterian. A low major D1, but it is a D1. So, we'll see how things work out for him. Again, the transfer portal will continue to be a story amongst the HBCUs. I want you guys to let me know what you think about whether or not, guys are using HBCUs as JUCOs. And if so, is there anything that HBCUs can do about it? Or is it just kind of, are we kind of doomed to be in this cycle where, we find diamonds in the rough and then we lose them to bigger schools. And then we have to take on some guys who, who may be talented, maybe it just didn't work out, or maybe there was something else missing and we have to kind of make the best of it. But it seems like more and more we're having those type of conversations and that's what's going on. Again, with all the movement in college basketball, it's a new day just finally, because this is what's been going on with coaches for years. And speaking of coaches, yesterday we did talk about Coach Monte Ross. He is now officially the new head coach at North Carolina A&T. The press conference is set for Thursday, so we will be there covering that and checking that out. Coach Ross is a disciple of the late, great Clarence Big House Gaines. He played his college basketball over at Winston-Salem State. So, that's and it was definitely a rivalry for sure. So we'll see if we'll get a chance to see that game come about, even though it's D1, D2, and an exhibition. I think the triad, North Carolina is ready for it. But all right, well, we won't get on that. But for those of you who don't know about Coach Ross is a Philly native. So he was spent the last 3 seasons as assistant with the Temple Owls. Before that, he was his coach in the CAA, North Carolina A&T's new conference, and he led Delaware to a Delaware CAA championship. He also, it'll be interesting to see if we get a mention of this on First Take or anything like that. He actually did go to school with Stephen A. Smith at Winston-Salem State University. So North Carolina A&T is a school with a proud tradition and proud basketball tradition. But, over the last 25 years, they only have one tournament title, that was winning the MEAC back in 2013. Since then, the program's just kind of, bit up and down. There have been some moments where it looked like they were about to break through when they were in the MEAC over the last couple of years. I know the last year they were in the MEAC, they did win the Southern Division Championship, that COVID year when they did have divisions, which is normally not the case. But they've also had a lot of coaching turnover. The last coach to lead them to a championship was Cy Alexander, who coached at South Carolina State and many other places. He's now an assistant at Alcorn State. He retired. The baton was handed to his assistant, Coach Joyner. He was there for a couple years, and then he was let go. And then it was over to Will Jones for a couple of seasons. He shepherded the program through the end of the MEAC into the Big South, and he was let go prior to last season. So interim coach last year, Coach Shumpert, they actually had quite a few pieces to leave the program. I think their top 3 of their top 4 scorers. I think 4 of their top 4 scorers are gone, but 3 of them are in the transfer portal. And Cam Woods, a big loss of Duncan Powell, who was a big recruit for them a couple years back. So, North Carolina A&T, definitely a program that is in transition, figuratively and finally, not so much literally, now that they are actually in the CAA. I did get a comment from, I see my guy Cordero Jones. What's going on? How you doing, brother? Hope all is going well. WSSU Ram there. I see we have another comment from Clyde. We are doomed. The floodgates have been open. It's money, money, money. That is something that you hear a lot these days. The NIL and transfer portal have definitely changed college basketball. For HBCUs, the transfer portal has kind of always been a thing, because we've always giving players chances that um, maybe that did not have academics where they needed to be, or maybe they got into a sticky situation. HBCUs have been known to give second chances for a long time, so that's kind of in our DNA. But the having HBCU players consistently go up, or what's perceived as up, is a new phenomenon, and I know a lot of people aren't very happy about it. You love to see guys. I know me, covering HBCU sports, especially HBCU basketball. I love to see guys complete their entire careers, go through the career arcs, and grow as a person. And it's not that you can't do that with the transfer portal, but um, I feel like you do probably lose a little bit of that. Sometimes, things don't go your way. Sometimes, things in life change. And the transfer portal gives you an opportunity to make a decision, what you feel is the best decision for you, though. And I think that's a lesson in life, too. They're going to have to go and navigate situations and jobs as well. And, they're always going to have the opportunity to leave. And I think, the transfer portal can be a gift or a curse, depending on how it goes. But for HBCUs, it's definitely um it's definitely it's been a catch 22. We look at Fairleigh Dickinson. They were able to build a program. They actually got a lot of transfers from their D2 program. So it'll be interesting to see if HBCUs continue the strategy of trying to go after bigger Power Five guys, or maybe Fairleigh Dickinson was onto something when they decided to look at some really good D2 players, because there are a lot of good players in Division II basketball as well. So, but it's going to be interesting to see how we get to that mix. And in the conversation with moving along, not only are we kind of elevating, or our players being poached, if you will, or getting our other opportunities. But now also we've got our coaches as well. So again, on HBCUGameDay.com, I got the link below. You guys make sure that you tap it. Make sure you guys are hitting the notification button too, so you make sure you don't miss out on any of these. I appreciate everybody for hopping in. Go ahead and hit those notifications. It's great to be subscribed, but notifications give you just that little bit of extra juice to know what's going on. But so Tuskegee University, this is their head coach. Miss Coach Powell, she's done a great job in turning that program around, and she is now the new head coach at the University of New Orleans. Coach Powell guided the Tuskegee University Golden Tigers to a 96-32 record. Not a mathematician again, but I mean, that's a pretty damn good win percentage. She had a 26-4 season this year. She had a berth in the NCAA Division II tournament. They pushed a really talented Tampa team, who was the top team, and they should not have been in that position. So coach also coached, she was the coach of the year, but she also coached the player of the year and the defensive player of the year. That program, when she took over it, was in trouble. Well, not trouble, but they weren't living up to the expectations that folks had for Tuskegee. And she was able to transform it even through the 2020 season, where we had COVID come in and wreck some things. They went through some ups and downs, but finished on a high note, winning that championship. It's interesting. She was hired by AD Tim Duncan. Not that Tim Duncan, but AD Tim Duncan, who is a black man, has hired her at the University of New Orleans. And so, once again, we see HBCUs being incubators for talent. Of course, at the Division II level, it's a little bit different. It's not the highest level of basketball. So when you get a coach like Coach Powell, you expect you hope that they do well, but knowing that when they do well, knows that you're probably going to end up having to hire somebody else in a couple of years if everything goes the way that you want it. So for ADs at the D2 level of HBCU basketball, it definitely is something that you kind of have to be cognizant of on. And I think a lot of the people are. You want your ADs to be proactive and always knowing. And, just like your coaches have to be proactive as well, because you never know when a kid's going to come in and say that they're going to hit the transfer portal. So comings and goings are a part of college basketball. They're here to stay. We do have a comment from All Day 3004. HBCU shouldn't be seen as anything close to JUCOs or even low major schools. I can see going to a Power 5 school, but no reason you should create an HBCU and go to a mid-major school not in the AAC. Well, interesting. Yeah, yeah. Interesting. I don't know. We'll look at Justin Wright. He's playing for a coach in Lavelle Moulton who has been very successful. That program's been successful. He's been gotten a lot of eyes on the program. I don't know what tipped the scale in Loyola Marymount's favor. Maybe sometimes folks need a change of direction, but I think that's a guy I would have loved to see finish his career at his HBCU. I know Central has not had the get seasons that they would like to have as of late, but a program that has definitely going to be in the running. So I would have loved to seen him play. So all day 3004 says with regards to keeping coaches at facilities, HBCUs do to need to pay to play unless they have a coveted hire already in line for the job. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's always going to come down to money, right? When you talk about coaching and now even with the players and you talk about the transfer portal, it's always going to come down to finances. Everyone is going to be looking to better their situation. I know I'm sure folks at Tuskegee, although they'll miss Coach Powell, you know, the opportunity to coach Division 1, even though it is UNO, which is often seen as one of the lower tier Division 1s. It is Division 1 versus Division 2, and then there's the money factor, and so and then again with the student athletes as well. Now with NIL deals and cost of attendance and things like that, HBCUs have been put at a competitive disadvantage in a lot of ways. A lot of the things that we have to offer aren't necessarily tangible, even though there are some schools that do have more than others. And that's why it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with North Carolina A&T and Coach Monte Ross. How will they use the transfer portal to build up what they have? Coach Ross was on the Temple staff, so he's been recruiting over the last, couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see, maybe if he can pull some guys from the Philly area. That's actually is where he's from, even though he did play his college ball in North Carolina, but that's where he's from. And so it's going to be really interesting off season for sure. And then we've got football as well. So right now we are dealing with spring football at our HBCUs, but and as long with that as well, we've also got the NFL draft coming up in a couple of weeks. So, make sure you guys are staying tuned to HBCUGameDay.com to check out all of the different draft coverage we have. We're gonna have a lot of stuff coming your way. But there is one young man who is who's streaming up the ranks and starting to get a lot of NFL teams bringing him in to work him out, and that is Florida A&M's Xavier Smith. Um, so the LA Rams so he just had his pro day last week, I believe it was, FAMU's pro day with not only Xavier Smith, the wide receiver, but also Isaiah Land. And so both of those guys are talented guys, and they were able to bring out 23 scouts, and the Los Angeles Rams were one of them. So they've had their eye on him. And according to the Pro Football Network, he has done a workout with them. Xavier Smith is a young man who came into Florida A&M as a walk-on, and he has proven himself at the collegiate level for sure, and now he's looking to make a name for himself in the NFL. He did a great start when he went to the pro day at the HBCU Legacy Bowl, the combine there, and ran a 4.38, 4.39. That's a really good, fast, speedy range, and so it's definitely you'll see a little if you'd like to see a little bit more about him. We'll let the story tell itself.
This is Ashley Bryant with HBCU Game Day. Today we're here with Xavier Smith, who just got done performing at the Pro Day for FAMU. Xavier, how do you feel about your performance today?
I feel great about my performance. I feel as though I came out and confirmed what the scouts already knew that, I'm fast, I got speed, I could run great routes, and, I could perform on a consistent basis.
Right. And then with your performance today at at the pro day and at the combine as well, what do you think you've proven to the scouts?
That I'm fast, that I can run fast on a consistent basis, that I'm a great route runner getting in and out of my breaks, and I test really well. So that's what I feel as though I showed the scouts that I can do.
Right. And now that pro day is over, how do you plan on preparing for a career in the NFL?
Just sticking to what I've done that got me up to this point. So continuing the hard work, continuing to just persevere and be resilient throughout the whole process of being in the NFL.
All right. Thank you for that. I am Ashley Bryant with HBCU Game Day. Thank you guys for watching.
Great work there, Miss Bryant. Great work for sure. So that was Xavier Smith, a very talented young man, wide receiver from Florida A&M University. So he has had a couple of workouts recently. He's worked out with the Chicago Bears and the Tennessee Titans as well. And yeah, he's also got some interest from the Chargers as well. So he is a guy to watch for sure in the NFL draft. We will again have more NFL draft coverage as we get a little bit closer to that day. But just wanted to make sure you guys are up to date with everything that's going on with HBCU sports. Make sure you guys are going to HBCU Game Day on the regular HBCUGameDay.com. We appreciate all our YouTube subscribers and viewers, but make sure you guys go to the website to get some things that you may not see on YouTube. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and close this one out. I appreciate everybody that stopped by, chopped it up with us, and make sure you guys will hit that subscribe button and notifications as well. And we'll see you in the next video.